That's that. Before I hand it over to Frankie, the kind of format is that we're doing What Can I Do? For those that have got their books there, it's chapter 5, page 54. But we'll be doing some screen sharing as well. But it's great if you've got your books there. Frankie might talk for 10 minutes or so before we get into it. I don't know how he's going to do it tonight, but we'll leave it up to him. Can I just say before Frankie unmutes himself that it's a workshop. It's not like a meeting where it's kind of 4 minutes share back time. We find that it works best that when Frankie says, right, can I have 3 hands up to get your perspective on this point, that if we share back for a minute or so, it's good, it works best, and we can keep it moving. So that's the only bit of direction I would maybe suggest. So Frankie, over to you.
Thank you, Paul. How's my audio? Is it okay?
It's good.
Fantastic. Frankie, I'm an addict. Welcome to everyone to the workshops. I know some of you guys have been here before. I'm a slightly different cat. I'll share a bit of my experience to let you know where I'm at. I've been attending meetings for a long time. I first came to Narcotics Anonymous in Wandsworth Prison in 1992. With any luck, I know people say just for today, but with any luck, in May, I'll be 19 years. So I've just passed 19 years sober, but in my NA world, that doesn't count at all. So if anyone's an alcoholic and an addict, this is primarily a workshop for people who have the illness of addiction or the condition of addiction or the disease of addiction. You hear NA talk about this really a lot. Active using. This is sort of just to qualify myself, so anyone can ask me questions. I was in active addiction for 27 years. 25, 27, not really sure. It's a bit hard to quantify that. I was government registered addict, for those who know about drinking green liquid out of bottles, for 20 years. I was really in a fucking state. I went to prison. Oh yeah, disclaimer, sorry. You missed that one, Paul. I will swear because I'm just going to share my experience, and sometimes I share, and if you guys want to do a bit of research, listen to a guy called Carlis from New York. He's not with us anymore, but he gives you a good explanation on why sometimes you need to have some expressives and expletives, because it's just, this recovery. I want to share from my heart so you guys also have my experience of what I do. I've ingested drugs. I've done train spotting style. I've stuck them up me. I've snorted stuff that's nearly burnt my eyeballs out. I've done that on regular days. I've smoked stuff with plastic in. When I went to prison, it was the first time somebody had told me to put margarine with what I was smoking, which I'd never heard of before. The reason I say these things, it's not about, what or how much we used or who our connections were. I say this so I just want someone to understand I've been there. I've been in NA a long time, and there's a lot of imposters here, and there's a lot of people who come to what I call the youth club. So we want to just have anyone's experience on how they got well, how they dealt with their addiction, because some of the book's good and right and spot on, and some of it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to some people. So I'm just one addict in thousands. So yeah, this is normally the time you'll see people start to exit because they might get called on their shit. Yeah. So, and let's make it clear about the step one before I get off all this serious stuff, because I do like to have a laugh as well. So let's have some fun. With our step one, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction. We didn't admit we were powerless over cocaine. We didn't admit we were powerless over heroin. We didn't admit we were powerless over Subutex. We didn't, it's over our addiction. So my addiction, it lives with me. So it's the disease, it's the illness, it's the condition, and that's what we're going to address. And this month's chapter we're doing is called What Can I Do? Chapter 5 in the book. If there's any people who have experience with the basic text, it'd be one of those questions of you'd ask yourself, why on earth did they put what can I do at chapter 5 and not before it works how and why? Why did they do that? And I've done quite a lot of workshops over time, and some of these questions have come up. And I think with what can I do, I think they realize with addicts, when you give addicts a basic text, what they generally do is you give an addict the basic text and they rush off straight away and they open it up to how it works. They're not really interested in the other couple of pages. Who wants to know about that nonsense? Just want to know how it works. Yeah. I just want to get well. So then what you can do is you can sit down and you can read through the steps. Look at that in the book. That's the steps in the basic text. That's how thick it is. It's from page 17 to page 54. It's nothing. So most addicts will sit down and read it like a novel. Then you've got what can I do? Because after you've done that, it kind of leaves you a bit bamboozled, once you start getting to step 11 and step 12, and especially trying to understand what an amend is and why you make an amend. You make an amend because of harm, of course. So first off, I was going to say, where's that guy? He's gone now. Would someone, one of the group, Paul, could you get somebody to read the italics in What Can I Do, please?
Yeah, are we going to? Have you got it to share, or will we just grab someone with a book?
I can share it. Yeah, no problem.
Somebody will put their hand up to read.
Great, no problem at all.
Devin, shall we bring you in? Yeah, perfect. Right. So if you can read this,
yeah.
And I think Frankie will scroll down as you're reading.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Devin. I'm an addict.
Hi, Devin.
Chapter 5. What can I do? Begin your own program by taking step 1 from the previous chapter, how it works. When we fully concede to our innermost selves that we are powerless over our addiction, we have taken a big step in our recovery. Many of us have had some reservations at this point, so give yourself a break and be as thorough as possible from the start. Go on to step 2, and so forth. And as you go on, you will come to an understanding of the program for yourself. If you are in an institution of any kind and have stopped using for the present, you can, with a clear mind, try this way. Please continue your daily program and contact a member of NA. Do this by mail, by phone, or in person. Better yet, come to our meetings. Here you will find answers to some of the things that may be disturbing you now. If you are not in an institution, the same holds true. Stop using for today. Most of us can do for 8 or 12 hours what seems impossible for a longer period of time. If the obsession or compulsion becomes too great, put yourself on a 5-minute basis of not using. Minutes will grow to hours and hours to days, so you will break the habit and gain some peace of mind. The real miracle happens when you realize that the need for drugs has in some way been lifted from you. If you have stopped using, and if you have stopped using and started to live.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
absolutely. Thanks for letting me read.
Thank you. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this first part of what can I do? And we want to get some experience. I'll kick us off. I'll share some experience of mine. And then, Paul, can we have, say, 3 people with a couple of minutes each who can share their experience on, see where it's yellow and highlighted. I'll take it off the screen in a minute, but just give everyone a chance to digest that. In chapter 5, in What Can I Do, where I've highlighted it, it says, when we fully concede to our innermost self that we are powerless over our addiction, we have taken a big step in our recovery. I'll simplify it for myself. When I fully conceded to my innermost self, what that meant for me was when I knew that I couldn't live with drugs anymore and I couldn't live without drugs, when I knew that I couldn't use anymore, when I was sitting down taking drugs when I didn't want to take drugs, when I had my rent money, which I really needed, and I'd spend it, when I'd steal something off my family, go to the pawn, put my dad's long jeans watch in the pawn, totally convinced that I was going to get that watch back. I really believed myself I would get the money to get that watch back, shoplifting, kamikaze, whatever, to get that watch back. And I was unable to because I was totally powerless over my addiction. I ended up spending the money, and whatever money, extra money I got, I still went and spent. Never got the watch back. I couldn't stop under my own power. Could we have 3 people share their experience? If anyone's got any experience on being, you know, totally powerless and understanding right in your gut that you cannot use, you are unable to use, doesn't mean you've stopped using. It just means you've got that resolve that you know you can't use anymore and you're fucked, basically.
Okay, thanks, Frankie. So if we could have a few hands up on this this idea of powerlessness. I think Frankie calls them living examples. Something quite tangible that really comes to mind. Joanne, let's bring you in first for a couple of minutes, please.
Hi, my name's Joanne. I'm an addict.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi. I have just, I've been writing my powerlessness actually today in my step work. And, you know, the powerlessness that I had over that total lack of inability when I used, you know, to swear to myself that I will not get in a car, that I will only have, you know, when it was alcohol, if it was drugs, you know, when it was drugs, when it was crack cocaine, I could not stop. I knew the money was going down. I knew I was wasting my life away. And that total inability that once I put that first drink or drug in me, that it was absolutely, all bets were off. I had no idea where that was going to take me. The other parts of powerlessness that I'm learning about is like the powerlessness over people and situations, you know, that happen on a daily basis. My ex-husband has my children in Spain, and, you know, I can't get Christmas cards or birthday cards to them. A package has been sent back from the UK, £500 package. It's very painful, but I have no power over that. I can only do what I can do today to the best of my ability. You know, when you're dealing with somebody who's narcissistic and controlling, that's their way of behavior. Okay, and I have Joanne, to let that shit go. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, cool. Joanne. Thank you, Joanne. That was wonderful. What we're focusing on is when you actually knew in your gut, you knew that you could not use ever again. You knew you was an addict and you couldn't stop.
I think it's Sai up next, right? Sai, would you like to come in?
Addict. Yeah, I'm on mute with that. Hi, Paul. Thanks for sharing. Sorry for being late. Been busy. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that bit. I've turned it. I logged on it with that bit that fully conceded. And you know, when something just clicks in your head, it just took me back to that moment for me when I fully conceded to myself. It was like I remember the breaking point that happened in my life, and I'd just come out of detox, and it was like I thought I knew what to do when I come out of detox. So I didn't do what I needed to do, which would get involved. I used, and it was like I was using. I was like crying into me using. It was just horrible. And then last time I injected myself, the reason I'm saying I injected myself, because I just remember that, I can remember it vividly, it's like coming back to me as I'm saying it now. I was there and I'd scored and I used, and I came round about 5 minutes later with my 1-year-old daughter screaming and holding a pin lid in her hand. You know, she didn't have all the needle, and it was just like, what the fucking hell just happened? I just couldn't believe it. I just felt it. And I was on the phone to my friend afterwards. He'd just gone to Liverpool. He had to get himself clean, and he was like, "You need to get involved in it." And I did, and I got involved, and I went to a meeting, and it was the first time I'd been going to meetings for a while. So I look dark there. It's like it's dark where I'm on it till now. Anyway, but it was the first time I've been going to meetings for a while. But I spoke to someone and said, maybe you need to start getting honest in that meeting and start sharing where you're actually at and what's happening in your life. And I remember going to the meeting. It was a Monday night meeting in Halifax, if anyone's from there, this area, you know, and I just remember sharing it. I was sharing, saying I'm broken, I'm full of fear, and I swear to God, I pray to God that I don't have to use it anymore. And when I shared it, honestly, I felt it inside. And that was a change in me, you know, and that was a breaking point that helped me start listening. You know what I mean? From that, we like doing that thing, getting a sponsor, working the steps. But that was that point when I fully conceded. I really did. It weren't just the external things where I was upset because I've done this, I've done that. I actually felt it inside, you know. And then, yeah, I remember it's happening. Cheers.
Thank you, Si. Bring in Devon next, and then Jeff. Just a couple of minutes, Devon, on this kind of when you knew that you could not use successfully anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Devin. I'm an addict. So for me, that moment came when I was pretty much to the point of overdose, physically ill, not able to stop from vomiting and from the cold sweats, unable to sleep, unable to drive. I had been lying to my family about what I was doing, had been caught, you know, more times than I can count, had sworn on everything, on my children's life, on my, you know, on my relationship that I wouldn't do it again. Yet always seemed to go back to it. I was in a position where I had a lot of free time at work, and rather than doing the work that I should have been doing, I was getting high in my car and pretty much passed out for the majority of the work day. I was in that point of denial for longer than I'd like to admit. Yeah, that sort of rock bottom weekend came when I was physically unable to leave the area in which I was working to return home because I was so physically ill, and had to reach out to my fiance to ask for help. Honestly, just because I wasn't sure that I was gonna live much longer through the day. And they, you know, she came and came to where I was at, and had the number of someone that she felt like could help, which led me to treatment in Florida. Actually just got out of treatment yesterday. This is actually my second NA meeting, so I appreciate you guys letting me join. But yeah, so that point of accepting that I had a problem didn't come until I was sort of on death's door. But thank God it did come, and I took the steps that I needed to get clean. Yeah.
Great, Devon. Welcome to Scotland. Welcome to East Coast Scotland NA. Please stick your number in the chat to me if you want to connect on WhatsApp, and we can get more links to you and the shares and the workshops that we recorded. So it's great that you're here. Jeff, lovely to see you too. Would you like to come in now, and then we'll move on to another bit after Jeff, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm an addict.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, at the end of my using, like the previous speaker said, it got to the point where I was waking up and using before I went to work. I was using while at work, and I remember for about 2 months at the end of my addiction, I was coming home, and where it says put yourself on a 5-minute basis an hour, I was doing that in active addiction. And no matter what I did in that night, I always ended up using. If I'd been strung out for 4 days, I'd fall asleep coming home from work. And no matter what time I woke up, if it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I would go straight and use again. And doing that while my daughters was at home, that's when I realised, you know what I mean, I was fucked and I couldn't successfully use at that point anymore. And that's me. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Jeff. Lovely to hear.
Thank you so much, guys. See, when we fully concede to our innermost self, what I learned, it took me 10 years to learn this. It may be different for you, or it may be similar. What I learned was that it was a done deal. It was over. It was finished, because it didn't matter how much I used. I knew that I had to get well. It wasn't like one of those, oh, I'll just have a little bit anymore. It was a case of I was trying as hard as I can not to use, because I knew that one is too many, 1,000 never enough. Maybe I was a bit stupid, I don't know, but it took a while for it to sink in. So that was a real big step in recovery, as it says. The next bit we'll go on to, boot this up again, is this one when it comes up. The first step in recovery is to stop using. We cannot expect the program to work for us if our minds and bodies are still clouded by drugs. Paul, do you think 4 people with a couple of minutes each to tell us why we have to have our mind and bodies clear of drugs, or why they had to?
Fantastic. Okay, that's a really important point.
If you're on medication, if you're on subbies or anything at the moment, we love you. You know, but please abstain from answering this question.
Okay, are we going to stop screen sharing for a sec and then bring, if we can have a few hands up?
Just say it once more so everyone gets it.
Yeah.
The first step to recovery is to stop using, full stop. We cannot expect the program to work for us if our minds and bodies are still clouded by drugs.
Fantastic. Michelle, would you like to tell us why it was so important that we were completely abstinent before we embarked on this stuff?
Hi, family. I'm Michelle, and I'm definitely an addict. And let me first say, so far, like everything that you put on the screen that's highlighted is the same paragraphs I have highlighted in my own damn book. So how cool is that? So let me tell y'all, right? This is absolutely important because recovery starts with abstinence, right? And I can remember going to a meeting, but being high and knowing that I left some shit back at the house that, listen, I was not hearing a damn thing, right? You talked about a good cuss word. I got a couple for you, right? I was so closed-minded that I didn't hear nothing that was going on. If somebody did talk to me, I didn't hear them because all I was thinking about was the next one, right? So for me, right, I had to see, my story is a program, and I couldn't grasp nothing about getting clean until I had been off the drugs for a little bit, right? You know, eating regularly. Like when I got in that program, they was feeding me, right? They was telling me you had to go to bed at a regular time. You had to wake up at a regular time. Like all of that for me was necessary. So that, look, because if the fog is going on, then I ain't thinking about shit but drugs, right? So to be able to be clear-headed, right, worked for me. So that's what I got. Thanks for letting me share.
Amazing, Michelle. Lovely to see you as always. Abby. Are you there, Abby?
Hi.
Oops.
I'm Abby, I'm an addict. I'll put my camera on so you know it's me. Hello. Yeah, why is it important to be abstinent? I'd never been abstinent. I got abstinent totally by accident. I was living in Stoke-on-Trent and I had a health issue that made me decide it was a cracking idea to get my car and drive back to Bradford. And I got abstinent by accident. And for the first time in the whole of my life, I actually felt feelings and thoughts and saw things that I'd never, ever experienced before. Like I'd be looking at a tree and I'd be like, there's moss on that tree. I would never have noticed anything like that. Now, for me, I fought for 10 years outside. I didn't go into the rooms in my city because I couldn't, I was too frightened to. But when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, thankfully I had some time and I had a clear mind. And that was a blessing, because Narcotics Anonymous came into my life when it was time for me to be able to put the time into this. But I needed a clear mind to be able to read the work, to be able to highlight my book, to be able to have the courage to ask my sponsor the questions I needed to ask, to be able to understand this language, because yeah, I like reading, but it's not the language I use all the times. You know, I'd identified as having an addictive personality for donkey's years to everybody. I didn't care who I told. I wasn't embarrassed about it. Just wasn't telling the right people, so it wasn't helping me. So yeah, I needed a clear mind. And it is important. It's important because how can you learn anything if you can't focus? And I couldn't focus when I was using. Couldn't sit still for 2 seconds. My mind was always on where I was going to score next, who I was going to take it off of next. We've all been there. We've all seen it, got the T-shirt. So, yeah.
Thank you, Abby. Brilliant. Really good points. So thanks for sharing. And Ryan. Good to see you, Ryan.
Good to see you. So 2 things why you have to stay abstinent to be in recovery is because you can't have your foot in active addiction and have the other foot in recovery. It's an all or nothing thing. So if just like we can't control our using, we can't just have one. So if you're using, you're not able to. Now, and the other thing is in NA, we learn other means of coping with our problems. Now, if you're still using, then you're using the drugs to cope with the problems still, and you're not even feeling your true emotions. So to live the program means to work in abstinence, so you can find new positive ways to get rid of or to cope with hard times of life. That's all.
Thanks for sharing, Ryan. We'll go with Sai and Eileen. Sai, you're up first.
Thanks, Paul. Sorry, I didn't want to come into. I felt like I'd come in before, but I'll be very quick here. It's just because it's so relevant to my journey, my story. Is in this how much I was in denial when I was on a script. Right, I'll come into NA picking key rings up, thinking I was clean. I saw everyone else get a sponsor. I thought I better get a sponsor. And I worked step 1 and I started working step 2, and something clicked in there. You know what I mean? And that power greater than with a drug every time. Do you know what I mean? So I finally got honest with this sponsor saying, I can't work this step because I'm still scripted up. You know what I mean? I was there, but it's only dialysis, but I'm reading that card in time of illness. That's me. I'm on dialysis for this reason, making up all this bullshit in my head. You know what I mean? So that's a prime example of why I couldn't move forward and I can't work the steps. Like it's been shared, I need a clear mind to move forward. And, you know, thank God I didn't, because it was that denial nearly killing me. I'll leave it there. Cheers. Thanks for sharing, Sai. And Eileen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You are pronouncing it correctly. It is Eileen. My name's Eileen and I'm an addict.
Hi, Eileen.
And first of all, I want to say that the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. However, when we talk about working a program of recovery, being completely abstinent from all drugs and beginning to recover is something that requires honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And having a substance in our body clouds our ability to kind of do that. And that's my opinion. That's not Narcotics Anonymous opinion. Let me say that. But my opinion is if you're under the influence of a substance, it's really hard to get honest about your using and open-minded about staying abstinent from all drugs. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Eileen. I just, sorry, Frankie, something just came up for me there while everyone was sharing. It's just something that I'm thinking about on this point. I came to NA for 15 years before I've strung the current time together, except for 9 months in that period. And I know you did the same for 10 years. And no matter how powerful the program was, the readings, the sharing with the other members, the youth club afterwards, all of that power could not penetrate, could not break through the drugs to get me to the place where I wanted so desperately to be. And that, sorry, that just came up for me while you guys were sharing.
That's great. No, that's great. I'm sure people can relate. One of the things that I was learning over those 10 years of using and not using, but still attending NA up until 2003 when I got clean. And this comes from our book. You know, it says our bodies do not know the difference. See, the thing is, when you have the illness of addiction or the disease of addiction, it doesn't matter whether you walk into the rooms and you've been smoking cannabis or whether you've been smoking class A's, as we say in England, like cocaine and heroin. See, there is no class. When you're an addict, there is no class. You can drink alcohol and it will trigger your addiction. That's why with a lot of us, because addicts are all different. Don't buy that thing where we're all the same. We're not, because we're not all the same as human beings. You know, some people get sickle cell, some people are prone to cancer and so on. And if you're of Irish, Italian origin, like me, you burn before you go brown. You know, it's like, so we are all different. So there's no class of drug. There's class when you get arrested where the government's concerned, but where class is concerned around drugs, these things can trigger allergic reactions with us, and we're all different. We have to understand what sets us off. I know people who can't have sugar, and I know people who can't have coffee. You know, I'm okay with coffee. I know people who can't deal with any of the gambling stuff. You know, it's the illness of addiction. They go nuts around gambling. They have to keep themselves shut down. I know people as well who have to avert their eyes if they're walking past the posters in the street and it's advertising ladies' underwear. You know, it's just, we have to learn what sets ourselves off, and we have to be really careful about it. And it's all part of understanding what we need to do for ourselves. So, you know, it's that they don't tell you a lot of this stuff in treatment, but having the illness of addiction, you have to find what sets you off. And you know it already. That's why we talk about it so much. That's why we talk about it. There's no class of drugs. No one's better than anyone else when you're an addict. It's a bit of a relief to know that, because the first few years I came in, I was a heroin addict and I looked down on people who drank and crackheads. I thought, you know, what's the point in that shit? You know, so... But let me screen share and we'll move on to another bit. Hope you guys don't mind this bit of freestyle. So as it comes up, what we was going to say is, like, as it says, after the first step in recovery, which has been highlighted there, we can do this anywhere, even in prison or an institution. We can do it any way we can, cold turkey or in a detox, as long as we get clean. So we have to get clean, yeah? The next one I like, okay, because this is quite important, to take the project on. This is a personal job. Now, we're after a recovery God, because if we needed a religious God, if our religious God did it, we could just go to church and attend NA. Some people do that, and that's okay. It's only about stopping using and dealing with the illness of addiction. However, can someone please share their experience on how they developed the concept of God as we understand him as a project that we can undertake? Just a little footnote here. My God isn't a man. Okay, so Paul, would you manage that? Should we have 3 people, 2 minutes each?
Sure. Are we going to keep it on the screen, developing this concept of God as we understand it as a project that we can undertake? Okay. Anybody want to talk about God or what I was about to say, an NA God or recovery God, but it's yours, so I'll leave it to you to maybe
please share your personal experience.
Personal experience. Abby, please.
It's a question people don't want to share on a lot of the time.
I'm Abby, I'm an addict. Yeah. It's really interesting, this, actually, because I did a lot of thought around this, developing the concept of God. And for me, my God was good, orderly direction. That was what I needed. And then I choose to use the word higher power a lot. And when people talk about, you know, handing things over and the use, the God concept. I needed a lot more action in that. For me, it wasn't enough to just talk, because I talk to the God of my understanding all the time. I am that person that lives on their own, that witters away, and I'm talking to my higher power. That's what I'm doing. I'm having a constant conversation with my higher power, because I ain't got a clue what I'm doing with my life. Somebody has to tell me what to do. And I get gut feelings, which in my mind is my God coming to me and giving me guidance. That's what I understand anyway. So yeah, for me, it was good orderly direction, and to understand the power greater than me. That's how I did it.
Thank you, Abby. I love it. And the Jericho boys are coming in. Hey, Danny.
All right, I'm Danny, I'm an addict. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Frankie. So how I developed my God. So I had to kind of just think like active addiction was like so much more powerful than me, and it tore my life to shreds. So for me, I had to develop something that was loving, caring, and more powerful than drugs, more powerful than active addiction. And I came in here last March, and the month before, my granny had just passed away. And I strongly believe that she passed away to get me clean and to help keep me clean. So that's why I came to an understanding and a development of my God. And it's easy. So when I'm praying, it's like I can picture her, and it really helps me. So it's like someone to talk to when I'm praying. So that's what I got. Cheers.
Cheers, Danny. Thank you, Danny. Anyone else on this? Matt. I was just away to say Matt's got a take on this.
Oh, I don't know what that means now. You're setting up the pressure, Paul. Yeah, for me, you know, like I grew up in a Catholic household, you know, so I had a God that I didn't really understand, that was kind of forced on me, and coming into Narcotics Anonymous and being given that freedom that I can develop my own relationship with a God, you know, that means something to me and not what I've been preached to all my life, and not something that I resented for, you know, the things that had happened to me in my life. I thought, how could a God, this God that's been preached to me all these years, do the way my life's turned out, you know? So to come in and have that kind of freedom and signs, my God appears to me in signs all over the fucking place. And when I was in treatment, I had a major sign, and that was the moment that I knew that there was something greater than me, that I had a connection to something far, far greater than me. And I knew that there was love around me at that point, you know? So yeah, that's my take on it. I'll just pass that.
Thanks for sharing, Matt. Michelle.
Hi, family. I'm Michelle. I'm definitely an addict, and developing the concept of God as we understood him is a project, right, that we can undertake. So I grew up going to church, right? And I really only went to church because I wanted to develop the relationship with my dad. So, you know, thinking about a God like, okay, whatever, not really, you know, okay, right? And then like when my dad died, I totally was angry with God, because it was like, okay, what's going on here, right? But coming into this process, like that was something that I did, undertake this project, because y'all kept telling me, right, a God bigger than myself, and what, bigger than me? Y'all, look, y'all don't know who the fuck I am. I'm Michelle. I'm grown. Y'all can't tell me what to do. And so, but it was on, like, see, the keep coming process and watching the evidence of something that I had no control over, because shit was happening in my life that as much as I tried to affect a change, shit was getting more crazy, right? But when I let go and let God, life just started to get easier, lighter, you know, shit was flowing for me. So a project, yeah, it took me quite a moment, right? But I had to keep, y'all told me to keep coming. More is going to be revealed. Keep coming. Let go and let God. And look, that showed up. A power greater than myself showed up. And I like the sister that said good orderly direction. I am a lot more open to that today, because again, I still be thinking who the fuck I am. Y'all don't know. But listen, I'm learning to put me down and know that I need help. So thanks for letting me share.
Fantastic, Michelle. Great to hear you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. That's great. I'm going to hop us on. So let's keep it moving because we're only doing 2 pages. And this one's a bit awkward for me to share on the iPad. So I'm going to just put the picture up. And the bit I want to say is after developing is a project we can undertake. We can also use the steps to improve our attitudes. Okay, that's the direction. Our best thinking got us into trouble. I'll dispute that. Maybe someone can give me their highlight on that. We recognize the need for change, most definitely. Our disease involves much more than just using drugs, so our recovery must involve much more than simple abstinence. So if someone can tell us what they do more than just being drug-free, because it also tells on the next stage, you see where I've highlighted it there, where it says, you know, recovery is an active change in our ideas and attitudes. If somebody could come in and tell us how their ideas and attitudes have changed, you might have only been in Jericho for a couple of days or something, but if your ideas and your attitudes have changed towards recovery and life, let us know. You might help someone.
Thank you, Frankie. Can we have a few hands up around us? How's recovery shaping your actions and your perspective? How has it changed since coming into recovery, even if it's, you know, for just a short time, and you can compare it to what it was like before?
I'll give you an example with me. I've been going to meetings when I first came in. It was a suggestion via my sponsor, and I kept my mouth closed. It was really hard. He made me keep my mouth closed till I got to step 4. And I change.
Brilliant. Okay, Ryan, in you come.
I think, I'm not sure I understand the question, but I think this is the answer for me anyway. So like when I first came into recovery, I went to the other fellowship and I went to lots of meetings, but I came late and left early, didn't talk to anyone, didn't get a sponsor, didn't read anything, I didn't do any service. And I didn't get the full benefits of recovery. And, you know, after 3 years, I just thought, well, I got this, I can go on. Only a matter of time till relapse. So, and then when I overdosed, I went back into recovery in NA 8 years ago because I almost died. And this time I was ready to do all the things that I didn't do before. I got a sponsor, I read the literature, I got involved with service. I did hospitals and institutions, had a position, I still have a position on the different business meetings and whatnot. So, and then I relapsed after 8 years, and then now I'm approaching 1 year again. So this time I've got involved with people that I have not known before. I made it a point, like, I'm going to get to know this person. I'm going to have coffee with them once a week or once every other week and get to have some fellowship because I'm a shy individual. So, and then the Narcotics Anonymous Zoom in Scotland, that's a new thing too. So doing new things can always improve your recovery, or some people say act like a newcomer. If you're an old timer, go to lots of 90 and 90 and do some of the things more intense, like when you first get it. So I think recovery is always a process and always altering, and you just try new things So that's it.
Thank you for sharing, Ryan. Jeff, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'm Jeff. I'm an addict. It's quite opposite to what Frankie said, to be fair, because I keep quite a lot, and my thing is I need to speak up. You know what I mean? I need to open my mouth and share where I'm at, because that was me in active addiction, and that was me at my start of recovery. I was very isolated and very withdrawn, and me speaking up and turning up in recovery to meetings. You know what I mean? And turning up when I'm saying I'm going to do something for someone. That is a big difference. And I've gone from selfish to selfless. You know what I mean? I do a lot of service now, and that takes me out of me, and I'm not stuck with myself a lot of the time. And I connect, you know what I mean? I've gone from despair and isolation to connection with people every day. And that's a massive part of an attitude change, you know what I mean? And it changes my ideas around the world. I'm open to happiness now. I'm open to love. I'm not focusing on the dread of each day. I'm accepting of people when I wanted to turn people away from myself all the time. Do you know what I mean? And that's a lot of the big changes from recovery to active addiction. I'll leave it there, Paul.
Amazing, Jeff. Thanks. Great to hear you. Leon's come in. Leon's got 90 days today, I believe. Is that right, Leon?
Aye, 90 days today, Paul. Cheers, mate.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Just a quick example of how recovery has been an act of changing my ideas and attitudes. I feel like it's matured me in a very short space of time. When I look back to when I was using, I was impressed by very stupid and immature shit. Like, impressed by violence, impressed by gangster stuff on the TV, music, media, just impressed with street stuff and a head full of that crap. And as I got clean, I'm chasing recovery over the last year, and I look back, I realised I was just a silly little boy, and I feel like very, very quickly recovery has helped me mature. So that's just a quick example.
Great example. Thank you, Leon. Well done again on your 90. Okay, we'll go Jericho girls and Jericho boys, and then we're going to move on. So we've got about 20 minutes left, but would one of the ladies like to come in? Anne-Marie?
Hi, Paul. Thanks for letting me in. I'm Anne-Marie. I'm an addict.
Hi,
what's like changed my attitudes? I've been attending NA since 2002 and could never get honest and like used all the way through. Yeah, and then came into this rehab last year. I'd done a step 1 and a step working guide and thought I knew what I suffered for, and then left after 4 months, went back out there, ended up fucked again, and came back in here. And this time I'm back doing a step 1, but this time I've not to write anything about my drug use. You're laughing at Paul. I've not to write anything. I've not to write anything about my actions. I've only to write about my thinking. And this time, because I thought I knew what I suffered for last year, but this time I'm like, my God, for years people in NA were saying to me, you suffer for a disease that centres in the mind and it feeds on fear and it's negative by nature. And now I think I'm finally seeing, that it's my thinking that I've got to change, so that's what's changed for me. Thanks for letting me in.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. It was just the way you went, but this time, and it was very cool. Okay, is that John? I can't quite see.
Yes, I'm John. I'm an addict.
Hey, John.
I would have done anything in my addiction. I'd have done anything to get the drugs and get the money for drugs. So when I came into recovery, a lot of suggestions were gave to me and I couldn't see the point in them. But I've taken a lot of these suggestions on and I'm getting a lot out of them. So that's me, mate. Cheers.
Nice one, John. Great to hear you. Thanks for sharing. Frankie.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. Anyone heard about the attitude of gratitude that we have to develop? If we change ourselves and we start being more positive and start getting an attitude of gratitude, it says in the book, and some of our sponsors get us to write gratitude lists. I was grateful for hot water when I came in. You know, I was grateful for having a bus pass so I could get to meetings. You know, I had a lot of gratitude in but I had to work at it as well. And let's just go slightly off topic for a second. Can anyone share their experience around having a gratitude attack? Do you know what I mean by gratitude attack? You know that thing where all of a sudden one morning you're coming out and you think, fuck me. And you're just totally overwhelmed from your toes to the top of your head with just fucking glee, if anything. Has anyone experienced having a gratitude attack? It's probably better than having an acid. It's great. Please come in and share whether you've had a gratitude attack.
Michelle, on you go.
Hi again, family. I'm Michelle, and I'm definitely an addict. And y'all might think, okay, like, what kind of fucking gratitude is that? But a bathroom, a toilet, right? Because I share that in my addiction, when I wasn't paying rent and living one step ahead of the Marshalls, that when my toilet broke, I didn't feel like I could go to the landlord and tell them to get it fixed. So I started to shit and piss in that tub, right? And wouldn't even take the time to rinse it out. So y'all can't, I immediately get the smell of what that bathroom was like as the shit and the piss piled and piled and piled. So guess what, y'all? That memory brings on about a gratitude, because today I got a bathroom and a half in my apartment. And listen, when I go to one or the other, grateful, gratitude that I ain't got to be ducking and dodging the fucking flies that was going on up in that piece. Mental image, I got a visual smell going on. Yeah, I'm grateful for a damn toilet. Let me let you know that. Thanks for letting me share.
Well, thank you, Michelle. They do say that you will get a concept of God if you go and have a dump in the neighbour's toilet and it won't flush, you know.
Hey, Jericho, in you come.
All right, I'm Dick and I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Frankie, I definitely identify with the gratitude attack. I never knew there was an actual word for it, but 2 weeks prior, waiting to get into this treatment centre, and it's my second time in here, and I've never experienced something like this in my life. I was in the shower and just washing away and stuff, and tears just start flooding down my eyes. I just felt so grateful that I could actually have a shower and that I was clean. And it was like an overwhelming feeling from my head to my toes. I can't describe it, and it's the only time I felt gratitude. Do you know what I mean? And it was like it's an overwhelming feeling that I'm actually safe, and there's a way out for this stuff. It was, I can't describe how it felt, but it was like my whole body. I started to feel anxious. It was like tears running down my face, and I don't cry a lot. It was overwhelming, but that's me. Cheers.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Billy, would you like to come in?
All right, Paul. My name is Billy. I'm a grateful recovering addict. I think the one I'm going to talk about now, the biggest burst of gratitude that I can think about was having the courage and getting the courage for other boys in the treatment centre that I was in to share automatically. As soon as I shared them secrets, it was as if I lost weight, just a load of weight just came off me, off my head, off my mind. Then right away, as soon as I'd done it, I had tears not running down my eyes because I was like, wow, I didn't think I could do this. And it's listening to these boys in here, listening to them, getting vulnerable, upset, sharing their stuff, that made me go, no what, I'm going for it, man. I went for it, I got it out, and it doesn't haunt me today. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for at the moment.
Billy, congratulations again on, I don't know what the word is, if it's graduating treatment, but great that you're on the other side. Okay, are we moving on at this point, Frankie?
Yeah, sure. I think the real word for Billy is release, isn't it? It's been released.
Released, yeah.
Released.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to have you with us. Yeah. So just to point out something on the next one, because we're getting close to the end there if we go into sharing. Just for example, from me, if we look on, as we look down to the bottom of the second paragraph, it says self-obsession is the core of our illness. Yeah. Now we know the illness sets in the mind. You know, our total self-centeredness and self-obsession is the core of our illness, and we most of us have allergic reaction to drugs. That's why we have to be really mindful around taking drugs when we get prescribed by a doctor. So with self-obsession being the core of our disease, we don't necessarily get rid of it. Now I'm going to share something really personal because this came up recently for me on just an obvious thing. When my father was diagnosed with dementia, I was really gutted for my dad. Diagnosed with dementia, he's a highly intelligent man. He's not with us anymore. But my first thought was, am I going to get dementia? And that's my self-obsession. You know, I need to learn to think less of myself in recovery. It's really hard. That's why we're always getting to do service to help other people. And if we do things for others, it helps us break free from the self-obsession, because I'll give an example of someone who's self-obsessed. Anyone who's got children, you know they're self-obsessed. And that's what happens, is we have to grow away from being self-obsessed children. They don't like telling us that in treatment. So if you'd like to have 5 people give examples of self-obsession, which is the core of the illness, please come on and share. Even if you've shared before, please come back on and share.
So this is, just to be clear, we're talking about self-centeredness here, or self-obsession. Is it
self-obsessed?
Self-obsessed, which is the same as self-centeredness, or
slightly different? I'll give you self-obsession. Go to the NA dance when you're not used to dancing. Have a dance, and that feeling you get where you think everyone's looking at your trainers, which isn't really happening, that's self-obsession. Any examples?
We have some hands up, guys. And feel free, if you haven't shared tonight, please come on. We'd love to hear from you. Abby,
addict. Yeah. So I get this self-obsession when I think about going to physical meetings in my area. I get this flashback to a conversation that happened during fellowship, where somebody was bombarding me with questions about what was my drug of choice, and I was going, more now again. What's the problem with that? Proper self-obsessed. I'm sitting on the bus, I'm going to the meeting. I'm thinking I can't walk in that meeting because they're all going to be looking at me. Have a word with yourself, love. They're there for recovery, or they're there for whatever reasons they're there. They don't give a shit about you. If they did, they'd answer the phone when you call it. They don't, so they don't. End of. Drama done. So I do my meetings online because it works better for me. Less resentments, more acceptance, less anger, more love, less fear and more faith. But yeah, another example of self-obsession, which I hate myself for. When my mum died and I got the phone call, when my dad died and I got the phone call, because my mum had already died. And my first thought was, I've got to be a mum now. I've got an 8-year-old, I've got to step up and parent. And I was like, I don't fucking want to do this. I don't want this. I hate that, but that's the truth. That's an honest example of me in active use with self-obsession.
Thank you, Abby. Brilliant, thanks. And Jericho boys? Abby's just got all self-obsessed and turned her camera off.
All right, I'm Danny, I'm an addict.
Hey, Danny.
I've got a few with the self-obsession, but one I'm going to talk about is when I first got here. I was in one of the groups we have in the morning, and there's people doing songs, singing a song when they hit like a clean time milestone. I'm like, no fucking way am I going to get up in this group and sing and dance in front of the boys when I hit my 30 days. And it's all that self-obsession. I'm going to remember the lyrics of the song, what we're going to look at. But I understand it, do you know what I mean? It's to teach us how to have a laugh at ourselves, not take recovery too serious. And it doesn't matter, do you know what I mean? Get up, have a laugh, and build your confidence. And each clean time milestone, we've got to do that. But hey ho, it's recovery. We hate to have fun. Cheers.
Brilliant, Danny. Any more on self-obsession? Si.
Addict. Loads. I could do a bloody main share on self-obsession. All the way through the moments of me using, from this happening. I mean, two prime examples. This is from using to being clean, right? Losing my mum. This is what I was using then. I was bang at it, you know what I mean? I was about 18, I lost my mum. I didn't think myself, I made everything about me. It was like I never thought of my dad, my sister, my mum was a twin, I never thought of her. I made everything about me, you know what I mean? I rinsed the family for it. And the same happened in recovery. I think Frank said, the first thought in recovery, like my granddad, other year, they were like, right, it's all about me, you know, and this is where I suppose the change has come. I didn't carry that thought on, you know what I mean? I started being there for my dad, ringing my dad up and asking about him, thinking of someone else, doing service, not just in meetings, outside meetings, family members, ringing my aunties up and asking them how they were, you know, and trying not to make it about me. My first thought was it was all about me, it's my gran, not thinking of it like about 30 grandkids and all the daughters and a son, you know what I mean? It was all about me. First thought, but I think recovery has changed that. And that is from that example for how I was about my mum. You know, that's I suppose my amends, and how I can make that amends to the rest of my family there, and make it not about me, and ask them how they were. And it made it a lot easier to do that, you know. So yeah. Cheers.
Thank you, Si. Thanks for sharing that. How are we doing, Frankie? You want to move on?
Yeah, sure. I was just watching people jump in and out. Yeah, thanks, Si. Thanks for that. Let's bring the old book up again. It's a bit awkward with the book. So we see at the bottom here, it says, we'll try and highlight it and then we'll jump across. We have learned that our old ideas and our old ways won't help us stay clean or live a better life, because that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Live a better life. If we allow ourselves to stagnate, it's quite a good one, this. And if you're a bit tough, it's hard for you. I was born in the criminal fraternity, so I understand this really about self-obsession. If we allow ourselves to stagnate and cling to terminal hypnosis and fatal call, we are giving into the symptoms of our disease. Anyone like to share on that? About, you know, how can being cool, how can that be part of the disease? How about it? Remember, there's no right or wrong.
Would you like to comment on terminally hit, fatally cool? Are there any defects that come from that way of thinking? Jericho.
All right, Paul. I'm Paul and I'm an addict.
Hi, Paul.
I think for me, it's like you're trying to do what other people want you to do and how you act and how you be and that. And it's just taps into that the self-obsession as well and self-acceptance and all that. So I think that's just it. I'll leave it there.
Nice one, Paul.
Just to drop in there might help this. I was unfortunate enough to do 8 treatment centres. But when they used to take us to the meetings outside, 2 hours before I was going to an NA meeting, I would shower, shave, get my hair right. I would wear the best clothes I had. I had to give an impression, you know. I had to look fucking good. We didn't get into recovery to look ugly, you know. So spend 2 hours and then go to the local NA meeting and sit there trying to look cool, you know.
Michelle.
Please, Michelle, come and help us. Come on, Michelle.
Hi again, family. I'm Michelle, and I'm definitely an addict. So for me, like I just shared with y'all a minute ago that y'all don't know who the fuck I am. I'm that bitch, right? So with that, see, that's my terminally hip and fatally cool moment that's a character defect, because from that, then I get arrogant, then I get condescending, then like a lot of little defects and all their little cousins start to come into play. So for me, like I tend to try to replace all of that with some humility, right? Like, yo, and I'm gonna tell y'all just how I be thinking in my head, like, yo, bitch, like you really not all of that. Sit down, because I don't know everything, and I got the open-mindedness that y'all talk about, right? That's where I'm at these days. Being able to hear somebody tell me something that's only gonna benefit me, because I'll be thinking sometimes like, yo, y'all don't know me. Who you talking to? Why you even telling me that? But, right, the love in this process, y'all tell me that because I can't see my ears and y'all can, right? So y'all are helping me to grow in this process. So again, I am not all of that, right? And I got a little time under my belt. Like, okay, for identification, I got 28 years, but guess what? Every day I feel like a newcomer. And with that, my open-mindedness, my humility, that I can listen to any one of y'all and get the help that I need. Thanks for letting me share.
Beautiful, Michelle. Thank you. I think it's Jericho. It's Abby. Sorry, beg your pardon, Abby, and then Jericho.
Abby, addict. I'm going to flip this a bit. So I was never the hip cool kid. I was the one in the corner with the book, with the earphones on, that you all used to take the piss out of. You know, I was never the one that was invited to the parties till you all realised I've got boobs and I could get you all beer. But, you know, I turned that into a lot of resentment, you know, and I became one nasty little piece of work. And when I went away to university, I created a new character. And I took all the tsunami of hatred of all you cool kids, of all you hip drug takers, and I became the person that would ruin your night by refusing to allow you to have a good time. So you see, that's where my term late and fatally killed coming in with my disease. See, I made a conscious choice to start using certain chemicals. Others, my dad was fundamental in, and I didn't have a choice on that. So I can't tell you when I started using, because my dad was instrumental in it. But yeah. So yeah, I kind of flipped that a bit. It created a massive defect in me. It's still here today. You know, righteous rage is probably one of my favourite defects. It shouldn't be a favourite, should it? But I am. You know, there are times when I get on my little soapbox and I am, don't you dare. But I work on it by accepting the fact that, you know what, the past is the past. I can't change a past. I can only forgive, because to forgive is to set myself free. It's not about the people that hurt me. It's about allowing me to be free again. And I need that. That's why I need an air. If I don't have an air, I have nothing. Never alone, never again. That's what it means for me anyway.
Thank you, Abby. Brilliant. So we're going to bring in Jericho and then William, and then we're going to go back to Frankie.
All right, guys, I'm Adam. I'm an addict. That fatally cool stuff, for me, it's like, I'd like to think of myself as like a bit of a boy where I'm a crafty fly bastard that can talk people into my way of thinking, like, and when people don't go to my way of thinking, they react to me. I can't let them react to me, so I react back, and through all that kind of stuff, I create my own misery. Do you know what I mean? So I can see how being fatally cool fucking disrupts myself. I'll leave that there, though.
Nice one. Thank you for sharing. Brilliant. And William, would you like to come in?
Yeah, hi, Paul. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, William. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm outside running at the moment. It's not a great time, but Yeah, no, I just thought I'd quickly share about what that means to me. Like, because I spent, you know, like a previous share, I spent a lot of my time. Well, you know, I spent a lot of time thinking I was socially isolated, and I was, to be fair, I was never cool. And so basically, when I got the ability to socialize properly, I basically, you know, I crave that now, and that's still the case for me. And so I think even in recovery, I struggle with this. It's that kind of, I want to continue to, I want to basically appear cool in the way that I talk to people. And that means that I can occasionally be resentful and arrogant and talk down to other people for the sake of being cool. And that just seems to me to be anti-recovery in a basic sense. So I just thought I'd share that quickly. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Will. Great to hear you tonight. Even if I can't see you, 'cause you're out running in the dark. But brilliant that you're here tonight. Frankie.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We're going to do 2 real easy ones in a second, and then we'll just open up the floor for whatever time's left, I think, Paul, if you're cool with that. But you've got my permission. If anyone asks you, you can say, look, Frankie, give me permission. If you go to a face-to-face meeting and you want to let everybody know in the whole room what self-obsession is, this is how you do it. What you do is you put your hand up to share, or you wait until you're picked by the secretary or the chairperson. When you're sitting there and it's your turn to share, take 5 seconds. Then all you have to say is, somebody has been talking about me. And then take another 5 seconds. And you'll watch everyone in that room wiggle, because they'll be thinking, did I talk to him before the meeting? Have I spoken to him? Did I speak to him last week? Who the fuck is he? And they'll all be thinking, me, 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 me. And you can make it go like an Italian football wave the whole way around the room if you're good at it. So you have my permission to do that, yeah? Because recovery is about being fun. Moving on to the next bit. Don't do it in group. You'll end up with a letter. See the button here? It says, this is necessary for us to accept that change is gradual and recovery. Can we have someone who's been around, say, 6 months, a year, or even Leon maybe with 90 days, to tell us some of the gradual change they've experienced?
Okay, does anybody want to talk on the, yeah, so we're looking at like a year or under, anyone that's just kind of noticing that change in themselves that's been brought about by the program?
If you have more time, please come in.
Yeah.
You know, is there any gradual change that you've noticed?
And if you're thinking, I want
it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, well, I'll put my hand up, well, I won't, you know, just take a leap of faith, you know, just come in and share with us, you know. No one noticed any change? That would be not good. Right, Ryan has.
I don't know if this is the answer you want, but
no right answers, no right or wrong answers, Ryan.
But this year I'm better physically. I'm back into running long distances, half marathons, and I just feel better. So physically, and then I guess you could say mentally and spiritually, I'm also better.
Thank you, Ryan. Lovely to hear you. And now we have Jericho Boys.
Right, I'm Danny, I'm an addict. They have been very gradual, but the things that I've noticed changing quite recently is my acceptance. My acceptance is something I really struggled with, especially if things didn't go my way or I didn't understand or I got told no. It really disturbed me, caused me to spill out and just have those uncomfortable feelings that I would normally use on. But now it's got much better. Still some work to do on it, but it's got much better. The other gradual change was I was really sensitive and really struggled to deal with my feelings. My I'm not as sensitive anymore, and I'm starting to deal with my feelings better. That's some of the changes I've noticed. Thank you.
Brilliant, Danny. Lovely to hear you as always. And next up, we have Jeff.
Thanks, Paulie. I'm Jeff. I'm an addict.
Jeff.
Yeah, gradual changes for me. I'd say, like Danny said, acceptance and a tolerance of people as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I used to withdraw from people very quickly if I didn't like what they had to say and they didn't fit my narrative. So I've got a lot better tolerance of people. I sleep better now. You know what I mean? That's over the last few months. I've noticed that I get a full night's sleep every night now. I'm not disturbed with, you know what I mean, that active addiction with sleep, and I'm actually able to laugh these days. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing up to now is I actually enjoy myself and I laugh at least once a day with other addicts in recovery, and that's massive for me. You know what I mean? I'll leave it there. Thanks, Paul.
Brilliant, Jeff. Look forward to seeing you at the weekend as well. And Leon, and then William, and then that'll be us kind of out of time. So, Frankie, anything closing remarks or anything before we go into the final readings? Leon.
Aye, cheers, Paul. Thank you. And somewhat to Ryan, physical changes, they were not gradual. They were very, very quick for me. I put on weight. I was extremely thin, down to about 8 stone. But the gradual changes have been the more beautiful changes, and this program's helped me to see all the behaviours that I was doing, engaging in. I understand them now. So when you have heard me share about the gambling, and just the concept of what an addict is, because before I came about here, it was just simply, I just need to stop taking drugs. And I thought that's all I had to do. I did not realise that I had to work on myself completely, because I'm an addict all the way around. So gradual changes are kind of like I was sharing earlier on. I feel like I'm maturing. I'm developing patience, which I've never ever had. And I'm finding that I'm growing in confidence. I can leave the house with no fear, and I've no bother talking to people on the street. I used to hide from my community, hood up, taking shortcuts, and in fact, I invite some of those interactions, and I don't mind talking to people, and it's just been a beautiful, gradual process that can only get better, surely. So thanks to
Thank you, Leon. Thanks for sharing that with us. And Will?
Oh yeah, thanks. I just wanted to come back in because I've now got to 6 months, and yeah, I've absolutely seen it change. Thanks. Yeah, one of the big changes. There's a lot I could go over. I won't. I'll keep it very brief. But one of the big things for me is my social ability. Like, I'm far more open to talk to people. I can pretty much guarantee I never would have done what I'm doing now, sharing on a meeting, even if it was online, 6 months ago. And I found that really it was coming to the meetings and basically just finding friends there. I've really found I could trust people. And by going to a multiple set of different meetings and actually finding that everyone was like that, the vast majority of people, I found that I learned a lesson there that actually my distrust is based in, in the addict, in my disease. That's the problem. It's not to be trusted, that distrust, And yeah, I've also become far less angry. I've been ill over the last few days, and I've actually handled it a lot better than I would have in the past. I'm just a lot happier, more peaceful, and more steady overall, which I just love. There's not as much radical highs and lows, it's just, I love it. Anyway, yeah, thanks. Cheers, Paul.
Amazing, Will. Great to see you tonight.
Right. Thanks, guys. Just on how much time do you have left, Paul? Not much, is it?
We normally wrap up 8:45, so unless I don't think there's any real issue with running over a couple of minutes, but
okay. I just get worried about watching the security come kicking the Jericho boys' door down and dragging them off to bed. That's all. But it's like they did the other week when they came in. That was just so funny. But you got to laugh, didn't you? any questions? Anyone want to ask anything? Anything didn't make sense, or anyone at all? Whatever you've got, you don't have to think something up, you know. But if something comes to mind or anything gets to you, you know, put your hand up. Because...
Carla, was there anything that came to mind with you? Anything you weren't kind of understanding, or that you got a question about? No pressure, but if you have.
No, I really like your guys' format. I've been doing AA meetings mostly here because I had to find a sponsor, and I happen to find a local meeting here in my town that I like. But it's a lot different setup. Like, you can't comment on other people's stuff that they say or whatever, and like there's a lot of different rules. But I like your guys' format a lot.
Thank you, Carla. Hopefully we'll see you again. If you want added to the WhatsApp group that we have, it's not an annoying one. It's maybe one post a day or so. Just put your number in the chat and we'll get you added to that. Any other questions from anyone? Oh, Margaret, brilliant.
Thank you, Paul. I'm Margaret, I'm an addict. Frankie, I was curious, and I don't know if it's relevant to tonight, but I'd be really interested to hear what you meant by when you said there's a lot of imposters that come here. You know, when you mentioned the youth club comment, it's been kind of sticking in my head since then. So even if it's just something in a future workshop, that would be fine. But I would really like to know what you meant by that.
Sure. I'll tell you a quick story, and this is a real story, but it's become a story now because we don't name people. There's a lady in the London meetings. Okay. Now, when she came, this takes about 3 minutes, Paul, this one.
This is a crack, guys. I love this one.
There's a lady in one of the London meetings who had two addicts who lived next door. And they were addicts, you know, they'd use crack, anything. And they kept knocking on her door and saying their gas had run out, the electric's run out, they didn't have money for the baby, can they borrow £20? Well, they were driving everyone in the whole street mad, as well as the lady next door. And this woman heard about Narcotics Anonymous, and she said to the two addicts, have you heard of Narcotics Anonymous? And they went, yeah, they're all mad, they're NA. So she says, no, seriously, you know, why don't you go to one of the meetings? There's a meeting not far away. And they said, oh, we can't go. We need money for the gas, need money for the electric. And she says, look, I'll get a cab and I'll take you there and I'll give you the money for the gas. So she gets a cab. She gets the two addicts in the cab with her and she goes to this NA meeting. And the NA meeting's normal NA meeting like you'd find anywhere, everyone sharing. And at the end of the meeting, the two addicts are up to her and they say to her, oh, thanks for bringing us to the meeting. Can we get that 20 quid for the gas? Because we need the gas money and the baby. And she gives them the money. And then a few days later, when they're knocking on her door again, after the gas money, again to borrow some more money, she says, hey guys, but you went to NA and there's all those clean addicts there. And they said, no, the fucking addicts, you know, they're talking about God, you know, and they're all so happy. No, that's not for us. And she's sitting there, and then it gets to the Saturday night, and she's thinking about the meeting. And she thought at the end of that meeting, they said they was having a convention, they was having a dance, they was having a picnic in the park. So she went back to the meeting, and she went there, and the buzz in the meeting was so good and so vibrant. She really liked it. And she's now been going for 8 years and she sponsors women in the meeting, but she's not an addict. She just came there, and the love that we give out so freely, and it's a true story. Don't know what happened to the addicts. Maybe they found NA, who knows. But there's a lot of people in London where I originated who come to NA and they come in, they want to be DJs. They come to the meeting because they can be their bedroom DJ and they want to be a DJ. Or they come to the meeting and they're chasing the girls and they're predators. And we say to them, leave the newcomer alone. They don't care. There's loads of imposters. There's loads and loads of them. So when we come to the meetings and we find someone who we relate to and identify with, who has experience, cling to that person. They're really helpful. Listen to that person. And that's what I mean about the imposters. And maybe that's my stuff because I've come from big city, but we have got it going on. You know, we get film producers come to NA, we get actors who come to NA, you hear them, they come, they want to learn how to be an addict so they can play in the film roles. There's loads of people who, they're not meant to be here, but they come and they jump on our fun. That's what I mean. I hope that made sense, Margaret. Thank you.
Yes, it did. Thank you. Thanks for explaining it.
Thanks, Margaret. Any closing remarks, Frankie, before we do the last readings?
No, not really. Spiritual remarks. The only choice you have in NA is what you do next. That's the only choice you have. Your counsellor might tell you you've got choices, but the choice is what you do next with your life. So, you know, I love you all. Thank you for being here. I can't do it without you, and I know you need me.
Brilliant, Frankie. Thank you. So can we unmute and just give Frankie a thank you for putting on such a tremendous workshop? Everyone can unmute, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Frankie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you at the convention.
That's awesome.
Brilliant. Thank you, James. Brilliant. Okay, Frankie slaying the game there. Thank you, Frankie, for that. What we've got now is quick couple of announcements. So this workshop that we just did here, Frankie is taking it with the group, the Clean and Serene Group, to the London Convention on Friday. So see that flyer behind him there. If you can duck out the way, Frankie. Oh,
it's backwards.
It's backwards. No, it's not backwards. No, it's fine. So he's going to, he's getting out the way. So, and he's, yeah. Anyway, it's Friday at 5 o'clock. And the reason we are announcing it is because we're going to put it on this link. So if anybody wants to join us at the London Convention, where we'll be live at the Waldo Room, we'll post the link in the WhatsApp group, and it'd be great if you could join us, and we'll Zoom it and have a hybrid kind of deal. Is there anything else I need to announce, Matt? We've got the speaker jam out the way. It's been really busy. We've got a convention in Aberdeen in May after the London one on May the 20th. If anybody wants added to the WhatsApp group where all those details will be posted, just message in the chat. Fantastic. Thank you again, Frankie. Thank you, everyone. We can stop that now, I think.